The first and most important thing we're going to take a look at is Billy Joe Saunders' use of his lead hand to control David Lemieux and therefore take control of the fight. It is always especially wise to control the space between you and your opponent in a southpaw versus orthodox matchup because the lead hands normally line up perfectly with one another. This means you can neutralize your opponent's lead hand by using your own lead hand, and we'll come back to this later.
Quality shot. Nice, accurate. You can get into a lot of trouble. Concentration so much to stay away from those Canadian.
Watch here as Billy Joe Saunders reaches out and touches David Lemieux's lead hand with his own lead hand. Now, since Billy Joe Saunders is a southpaw and David Lemieux is an orthodox fighter, the lead hands are lining up, you see, perfectly. So here, Billy Joe Saunders is just reaching out and checking David Lemieux's lead hand to measure his distance, and only that, but keep David Lemieux from using his lead hand. So now we see David Lemieux cannot attack Billy Joe Saunders because Saunders is able to keep his distance from Lemieux. And now essentially Lemieux becomes a one-handed fighter because he's unable to use his lead hand, and then Saunders is easily able to see this right hand and dodge it. Keep in mind also here, Saunders is actually moving to his left or towards Lemieux's right hand. This is so that he avoids being on the ropes, but also he does this very smartly because he is measuring that distance, which means he is out of range of Lemieux's right hand. We've seen before in David Lemieux's previous fight with Gennady Golovkin that he tends to struggle most against opponents who establish an educated jab. Saunders was able to use his lead hand to smartly keep Lemieux at bay with feints and with perfectly timed jabs. See, after essentially taking away David Lemieux's lead hand, Billy Joe Saunders is able to land a jab on the completely unexpected David Lemieux. But watch what happens here. See, David Lemieux is now a sitting duck for Billy Joe Saunders because now we're going to look at that again. Saunders is going to show his lead hand once. He's going to show his lead hand again. And then he's going to show it again, and David Lemieux takes a step forward. And then Billy Joe Saunders lands this left hook up the middle and the right hook around the gloves because he was controlling him with his lead hand here. See, he's able to keep David Lemieux still just for that split second for him to feint and then shoot this left hook, his left, straight left, and the right hook around the gloves. The next thing we're going to talk about is Billy Joe Saunders' ability to attack David Lemieux at angles. So the conventional wisdom in a southpaw versus orthodox matchup is to gain the coveted outside angle on your opponent. This is when you move towards the direction of your opponent's lead hand with the goal of positioning your lead foot on the outside of your opponent's lead foot. This is a highly advantageous position because it opens up various offensive openings on your opponent. So right now David Lemieux is close to the corner and he's going to try to escape it by circling out to his right. But you see here, Billy Joe Saunders is able to time Lemieux trying to step out with this quick jab, and then he uses that jab to step in around his lead foot and then land this left hand square on the jaw. And he nearly drops him. So let's take a look at that. David Lemieux is going to try to circle out, and as he does that, Billy Joe Saunders is going to use that opportunity to step around David Lemieux because Lemieux is already circling to his right, which makes it that much easier for Billy Joe Saunders to get that outside angle and then land that big left hand that nearly drops Lemieux. Excellent boxing. Now we're going to go over defensive responsibility. Saunders would often lead with offense and know exactly where he would be open to be countered following his attack. This means he is able to take away those openings without having to see the counters coming. There's a saying that goes, the best offense always has a built-in defense. This is what it means to be defensively responsible, and Saunders displays this very impressively. I'm going to try to break down the following exchanges. So here we're going to see Saunders lead with a straight left hand to the body. And so he throws that left hand to the body, and now he is leaning into David Lemieux, and his head is wide open for either an uppercut or a hook. However, Saunders already knows this, and he instinctively pulls his head back fast enough to dodge this counter uppercut from David Lemieux. So you notice he didn't even have to see the punch coming to know that he was open to be hit by it. Here we're going to see Lemieux blitz Saunders and push him back to the ropes. And then Saunders is going to hit him with a kind of check lead hook as he's getting pushed back onto the ropes. But then now that he's on the ropes and he finds himself square, he notices that Lemieux is now onto his left side as he's on the ropes. So now Saunders is going to find himself open to be hit. So what he's going to do is circle out to his right, and really all he has to worry about is now the left hand of Lemieux. Because now if you look at the positioning of where they are now, Lemieux's right hand is much too far from Saunders. So the only way Lemieux is going to be able to hit Saunders with his right hand right now is by reaching all the way across his body. So all Saunders has to do is dodge this left hook which comes. And as you know, he doesn't even have to see it to dodge it. Watch here as Billy Joe Saunders leads with a left uppercut and a right hook, and then use that right hook to pivot off of David Lemieux over to safety. Here Saunders is going to lead with a jab and then very quickly take a step out in order to avoid Lemieux's counter jab. Here Saunders has Lemieux in the corner again, and he leads with two left hooks, both which miss. And instead of standing there and getting countered, Saunders grabs a hold of Lemieux and controls him, preventing him from being able to counter, which is an excellent technique.
For my money, who's at times let himself down, but at other times hasn't really got the credit which his skill has deserved. Maybe if he maintains this, that's a great left hand from Saunders, who taunts Lemieux as much as...
Okay, so before I end the video, I really just want to hammer home the point that Saunders' main key to victory was his ability to keep the hard-hitting David Lemieux at a safe distance by using his lead hand. Saunders used this lead hand to control Lemieux's lead hand, and therefore leave Lemieux with only a right hand for most of the fight. Saunders also kept Lemieux in a perpetual state of confusion by landing jabs when he least expected them. That said, David Lemieux did a horrible job of cutting off the ring, and he also did an even worse job of trying to counter Billy Joe Saunders' punches. Saunders is much too defensively responsible to allow you to capitalize on his missed punches. You must counter Saunders as he is punching, not after. And with that is the end of the video. Thank you everybody for watching. If you like what you saw, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.